Hello, everybody. Today I am with the lovely, beautiful, and amazing Karolyn Martin. Karolyn was our most recent Miss North Carolina, and she just recently gave up her title to Miss Taylor Lloyd. We're going to be having a caring conversation today. So, Karolyn, do you mind introducing yourself to our viewers?
Absolutely. Hi, I am Carolyn Martin. As Huey said, I was Miss North Carolina I almost said 2002, and I was 2 years old that year. 2022. Hello. I finished up my year about just over a month ago now and have moved to Raleigh, where I'll be starting law school at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So I'm excited to be chatting with you today. Yes, all the applause. Thank you.
Well, we are so thankful to have you here today, Karolyn. Karolyn, do you mind sharing whatever you're comfortable with about your mental health journey that you have been on thus far in your life?
Sure. I will say I think I'm really fortunate to have been someone that's had pretty consistently good mental health. But one thing that I struggled with for most of my life that was a big part of my community service initiative when I was Miss North Carolina and competing was my struggle with my body image. So my community service initiative was called hashtag self care you to success. It was about teaching the community how to eat in a way that fuels our minds and bodies to success while taking the focus off of weight and appearance. And for me, that came from my struggle with my body image as a young girl. I remember, being 12 years old and getting my first bathing suit that was a two-piece and like being so excited to go strut myself on the beach because I was going to be so cute. And I looked in the mirror and I practiced sucking in for the first time because I was concerned about how my body was going to look. And so throughout my year, I really talked a lot about the importance of, yes, healthy eating, but understanding that we want to eat healthy so that our bodies can be their best and not so that we can look a certain way to fit a certain stereotype.
Yeah, that's an amazing personal story. Thank you so much for sharing that. Throughout your body image idealism that you've been dealing with and your community service initiative, possibly body dysmorphia, what has been some beneficial tasks that you have used to kind of cope with that mentality with body dysmorphia and body
Hmm.
image concerns?
I think a lot of times social media is a really big influence when we're talking about body image, especially in today's society. Social media is something that's really new for our generation, and we're really learning how to deal with it and deal with the realities of how it impacts us. And I don't think social media is an awful thing. I don't think we need to get rid of it. It was important for me. I moved around a lot as a kid. It's the only way I had long term friendships. It's really important for title holders, but we have to be mindful of how we're using social media. And the biggest thing I always tell people is that the unfollow button is something that we can use. And we don't have to follow people that make us feel bad about ourselves. Social media isn't the only thing that causes body image concerns. There were body image concerns way before social media was a thing, but it's made the marketing tactics that make us have poor body image easier to reach us. They can reach us any time of the day rather than only when we turn on the TV or only when we see a magazine. We're receiving these messages every single day throughout our day. And so it's important that what you're allowing to be on your feed is things that are making you feel great about yourself and not things that are tearing down your self-worth.
I think that's great advice to give, especially younger viewers who are just kind of coming into the social media era and they're being exposed to things that maybe we weren't exposed to when we were 12 and 13 years old, but we are more used to seeing now that we are older, because I know that
Yeah,
that can be really hard. I mean,
right.
you and I are not too far apart in age. We're relatively close together, and so I know that we kind of grew up without social media at first, and then it slowly started coming about. And so I
Right.
don't think it affected us as developmentally as it might be affecting some of our younger viewers today, because they're right in it. They're coming
Sure.
right into the social media height. They're more used to seeing it on their everyday, whereas we kind of adapted to it over time. But no, I think that is wonderful advice. And the unfollow button, the block button, even sometimes is something very necessary to use.
Mute.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It
Mm-hmm.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very important tool that is there for a reason. And I feel that some, especially younger people, forget that that is not just used as like a mean thing, that it can be used
Mm-mm.
beneficially for like, oh, I don't need to be seeing this. That was actually a
Yep.
focal point of my carrying conversation with Harley Tilke was she realized when she was struggling with her mental health that she was following a lot of negative images, a
Hmm.
lot of unrealistic beauty standards. And she said one day she went through
Yeah.
her social media and just unfollowed people and unfollowed hashtags and started following. She supplemented and replaced them with more positive ones, more positive hashtags, more positive people. And she said that was helpful, just seeing that every day change immediately. So that is
Hmm.
wonderful advice. And that's something that we can actively do that is more of an image thing rather than a inside your brain thing. So, I mean, you
Yeah.
think how you surround yourself with. So if it's negative, you're going to think negatively. If it's unrealistic, you're going to think
Hmm.
unrealistically. You're going to be a little delulu maybe. But if it is more
Yeah, I'm
positive,
quick to unfollow. Like I'm
yeah,
quick with it. I don't feel any sort of bad about it. And I
yeah,
think sometimes, we feel like, oh, this person's gonna think badly about me if I unfollow them. Like truly, I unfollow people that I just don't care what's going on in their life anymore. It doesn't have anything to do with me. I haven't talked to
hmm,
you in 5 years. I don't need to keep up with what you're doing every day. And just even like not on a mental health front, but for pageant girls that are listening, like whenever I was competing, all of the people I was competing with, I had muted. It was not a personal thing. It had nothing to do with them. But I think, especially when you're thinking about competing and your mental health, it's so easy to start comparing yourself to, well, what
hmm,
appearances are they doing? What preparation are they doing? And staying in your own lane is the best thing you can do for your mental health when you're competing. And so I was quick to have every single person that I was competing against muted. That doesn't work for everyone, but it was important to me so that I could just focus on what I was doing instead of trying to make myself be like somebody else. And I think that's really similar to the body image conversation. If there are people that you're wanting to emulate them because of what they look like, you have no clue what is going into making them look that way. It could be extremely unhealthy. And so if it's making you feel bad about yourself, there's no reason to make yourself see it every day.
absolutely. And I feel that is also wonderful advice. That kind of reminds me, and I'm not going to get super religious or anything right now, but that reminds me of a topic that we have had in Sunday school for the past 2 weeks, actually, that refers to when comparison begins, contentment ends. And
Hmm.
comparison will either have you feeling superior or inferior to whoever it is that you are
Yeah.
comparing yourself to, and neither of those honor God. So I know for myself that I've been working on that a lot recently, and it is sort of human nature sometimes, but if you can avoid it by any means, then that is more positive for your mental health, your spirituality, your emotional health, all of the above. Is there any advice that you would give, especially probably our younger viewers that are watching this, that are more used to seeing the unrealistic beauty standards and maybe are struggling with body dysmorphia
Yeah.
right now because of social media? What advice would you give them to get them through this tough time that they're experiencing?
One thing I always liked to remind people is the power that our bodies have, no matter what they look like. There are so many people that aren't as fortunate physically. And so, just the fact that I was able to get out of bed this morning and walk to my kitchen is a miracle to somebody. That I was able to go to the gym and lift weights and come back and shower myself. These things that sometimes we definitely take for granted because they're so simple and easy to our everyday functions. There are people that would do so much to be able to have that. And our bodies hold so much power. They're stronger than we think. And mentally, physically, we have so much capability. And just remembering that your body gives you life every day. Yes, it's okay to want to change things about yourself and do so in a healthy way. But I always say that it's important to do that from a place of loving your body and what it can do for you and wanting it to do things better and not from a place of hating who you are. And for girls that are competing specifically, it's so easy to eat and work out to look a certain way. And it's something I'm still unlearning. I've only been out of the pageant world for like a month. But
Mhm.
it's important, I think, to reframe for us that fitness and our fitness competition or, what you look like, it's not about being someone that you're seeing online. It's about being able to be your best every single day as you age, as you continue to grow and you become older. I've been thinking about lately, I'm reaching my mid 20s, and as we reach our mid 20s and we get older, we lose muscle mass and bone density. And so you want to do things that allow you to have function and be your best as you continue to get older and age, and not make your body so frail because you want to look a certain way.
I do want to point out, I feel that it was very important, the phrase that you used, unlearning something. And I feel
Mm.
like that can
Hmm.
be something at times that is very beneficial as well for mental health. Unlearning thought patterns, unlearning
Yeah.
ways to cope, unlearning something sometimes can be so good. And I know that that kind of comes with the, oh, ignorance is bliss, but it's the exact opposite, I feel. And so I feel
Yeah.
like that was a really important phrase used, because that is the same with the comparing how you may look, or comparing what your life looks to someone else that's on social media, that it's just a highlight reel. They're not showing their
Right.
everyday. They're not showing what they experience all the time, or their bad times. They're just showing the good. And I feel like that's why it's so important for us to be having this conversation where other people can view it and where other people can hear what we are saying, so they know that this is a very real issue that we are talking about, because we have experienced this. There's other people out there that have experienced it, and there are ways to deal with it that are healthy. And it's
Yeah.
okay to deal with them in
Right.
healthy ways. And it's okay to love yourself, regardless if, because me and you look nothing alike. We don't. God made us completely differently for a reason. We don't look anything alike, and that's
Right.
okay. Anyways, there's a important reason that we were all made differently, and it's because
Hmm.
we're all on a completely different life path. We're all
Yeah.
running completely different races. And so we're not supposed to be built and equipped the same way. Even twins
Right.
are not built and equipped the same way. Like
Absolutely.
th-
Yeah.
that's the closest to, oh, there's someone just like me. No, they're still not. Like, and that is purposeful. And so I enjoy you saying that we have to love our bodies because they give us so much. They are so strong and so powerful, which is true. I mean, even if someone is disabled and can't take care of themselves or
Right.
can't provide for themselves, even if I may be more physically fortunate
It's
than
keeping us
them,
alive.
they are still alive, and they are built for something different than I am.
Hmm.
They're stronger emotionally and mentally than I probably
Right.
am. And that's okay. We all have strengths and we all have
Right.
differences, not necessarily weaknesses, but differences, for a
Yeah.
very important reason that we
Right.
have not figured out yet. We will figure it out someday, but it's not going to
Yeah,
be
our
right
bodies are
now.
keeping us alive and we only get one. And I will say for me, I think something that's always important is that, when you're able to, you share these stories because it makes other people not feel as alone. And so I posted frequently when I was Miss North Carolina about different things I was insecure about my body, because it's important for people to see that even these people that we think are beautiful and perfect and have it all, they don't. One of the hardest parts in the beginning of my year for me was that I was trying on clothes all the time. And for someone that has historically not liked always how their body looks when they look in the mirror, that was really difficult because I would be like, oh, well, why in this designer do I need a six? But in this, like just the other day, I was wearing a two or a four, or, oh, I don't like how my stomach looks in this dress. You're looking at pictures of yourself all the time. I mean, as a local title holder, you do that a lot. And then I just found that immediately when I started going to all these dress stores and trying stuff on and taking pictures all the time and posting all the time as Miss North Carolina, it was just times 10 that I was just looking at myself. And it's so easy to see all the things that you don't like when you're looking at yourself all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
so, a practice that I always told people to do, that I was not practicing what I preached, that I had to remind myself to do, is that every time I think something negative about myself, I try to counteract it with two positive things. And they don't have to be physical, And maybe if I was like, well, I don't like how my stomach looks in that picture, I'd be like, well, I love how my smile looks. And I was so kind to people today, and it really impacted people. Those are the things that matter about you more, the things that make you beautiful, whether it's physically but also based on who you are and who your personality is. Those are the things people remember about you. I doubt anyone remembers a time that I felt like my stomach didn't look good in a dress, but they remember the interaction I had with them that day. And that's something that is a part of my legacy as Miss North Carolina, but it's also a part of, who you are as a person, is how you make people feel.
Wow. That almost made me emotional.
Oh, stop
The
it,
No, that was really,
please.
really beautiful. The counteracting with two positive things. I think that is a wonderful mentality to have and a really important tool to use, not just in the not just in the area of body dysmorphia or body image concerns, but with
Right.
anything throughout your life. That is a really important tool to use. And I really like that. I mean, you just taught me something in this little 20-minute conversation that we're having. I have not thought of thinking that way. And I, this year, as a 20-year-old, have struggled with body dysmorphia for the first time in my entire life. So I am working on combating that. And I think that I could absolutely use that. I never thought to think that
Yeah.
way. And I love that because that is appreciating your body, what you can do for others, what you did for others, instead of looking at the cellulite on my thighs or
Oh
the little
gosh. And
roll
like your
over my
20s are so
pants.
hard for stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Right?
I think like going to college, your 20s when your body's starting to change and like you're becoming an
Mm-hmm.
adult in your
Mm-hmm.
body, it's hard because we're used to looking how we looked in high school, right? When it was like so easy and we really ate anything and stayed a certain way, especially if you were an athlete in high school. I mean, I played volleyball in my school and travel. And so I was, going to two practices a day. I was lifting every single day. I was having three games during the week and I was playing all weekend for tournaments. And so, like, of course, I was super small. I was working out in a way that is not normal for adult people with lives to be able to be active. And also, I was 16 years old. So, yeah, of course, my body was different. Now, my body is for an adult to do, to be an adult in the world. And so, it's a difficult transition for sure, not just going to college and all the changes that happen there, but then as your body, it's also a time when your body is growing into being an adult body. And so all of that is just hard. I don't know if I have great advice for it other than it is what it is. Like, what can we do?
And I know it is hard to kind of come up with advice for that sort of thing, but I mean, everything you just laid out, I am experiencing right now, like in real time. And I was trying to compete as well. That was a little less fun because after my surgery that I had to have, it was a responsibility of mine to take
Yeah,
care of myself. I gained some weight. I was holding weight in different places and I
sure.
felt that I was not physically at my best. And then I was supposed to step on the Miss North Carolina stage. And then with all of that, I came away with third runner up and was the only Black girl in the top five. And I was the
Yeah.
tallest one there. I mean, all of those like crazy good representation esque qualities about myself, and I was concerned about my stomach and my cellulite on my
Right.
leg. Like, come on. And being someone who really is genuinely pretty confident in themselves, that was so weird for me to be almost ashamed of the way that
Yeah.
I looked, even though I knew that I shouldn't have been. I was like, come on, Keely, this is your body. Your body's amazing, but why am I still bothered by the way that I look? And every day I'm working on breaking down that thought pattern and reminding
Hmm.
myself that, yeah, okay, I'm turning into an adult. Like, this is what happens like you said about bone density and muscle mass, like it changes. And I think part of the issue was all I remembered was how I looked when I was 17 and I was doing track and field, competitive dance, and
Right.
I was on dance team. And
Yeah.
so you
Like
want to talk
you're
about
up against a lot.
like working out in a way that is like very unrealistic and inhuman. We were athletes. That was okay. We were also eating probably 5 or 6 times as much as we are now. Like
Yeah.
everything is different now. So yeah, your body is gonna change. It's gonna be different. I don't look how I looked when I was 6 years old. So obviously it is going to change and it's going to differ. We're also going to look different when we're 40 and when we're 70. Like remembering that and remembering all of the experience that your body has had, the scars that you might have, the stretch marks that you might have is because you have grown through different life phases and you've
Yeah.
gotten thus far. Like that is it's not really advice, it's just like a realization that I feel like every
Yeah.
person, male, female, non-binary, whatever you may be, goes through at some point is that like realization of, huh, I'm changing and that's okay. Like that's actually a normal part of being a
Right.
person.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
I,
aging is a privilege, you know, not everyone gets to do
mhm,
it. So, not everything about it is sunshine and rainbows, but,
mhm,
so many people would have loved the opportunity. I heard someone say from on TikTok, where, all great knowledge comes from, how silly it must seem to people that are no longer with us that
mhm.
we hate aging so much. And I was like, yeah, true.
Yeah, I love
Facts.
that.
Like that's
I
I was
love
like,
that.
no comeback.
I feel
Definitely
like I
accurate.
feel like that's a gorgeous last quote. I'm gonna have to put that in quotes in the caption of this. But Carolyn, I do want to thank you so much for having this conversation with me today, and I also want to take a moment and
Mhm.
congratulate you on a
Oh,
beautiful and wonderful year as Miss North
well,
Carolina.
thank
And
you.
thank you so much for representing those of us that the African American women that might not have been represented the best in previous years. And those of us who have struggled with body dysmorphia and body image concerns from normal aging and life changing events. I want to thank you personally for representing us and putting a voice and putting a face to this is real life. I'm a real person and I'm going to be honest about it because you were, if not anything, an honest queen. And I love that. And I appreciate
Well,
that
thank you,
so
Keely.
much. Yes, absolutely. Um, everyone, we will be back with another episode shortly. Say bye to Carolyn and say
Yes.
thank you.
Bye. Come find me on TikTok for more fun if you liked this. That's where I really get unhinged.